It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that Death Fractured Frontier is hard to make work, but when I played with her, I noticed something I didn't expect. Death Fractured Frontier is a 5/8 with an on reveal that resurrects all of your destroyed characters to random locations. When people look at a card like this, I think they assess it as hella for destroy, which in a literal sense it is. Hella revives discarded cards. Destroyed cards are a good deal worse. And I think that that is a meaningful distinction that really defines what this card is and what this card isn't. I find it very difficult when playing this card to make a combo deck that actually feels like it's doing something over the top in ways that other combo decks cannot match. With Hela, you can target big cards in your hand. With Death Fractured Frontier, you need to play them to the board and then destroy them before being able to bring them back. This means that to me, my instinct is this. As a pure combo card, I do not expect Death Fractured Frontier to ever be anything better than the 3rd to 5th best combo deck. And right now, I don't even think she's that because we have so many good combo decks in Marvel Snap, from Multiple Man, which gets to run Juggernaut and Cosmo, which you definitely don't want to see, to the Scorpion deck, which can typically just go over the top of you by comboing off harder, to even Nimrod, who I think is very likely to end up being the backbone of a better destroy my guys and get a lot of big guys combo. I find it hard to believe that she's going to find her home there. What's interesting, though, is that unlike discard, you can splash destroy. And by splash, I mean, we have multiple cards in the game that are able to destroy things in a net neutral or positive way, where that's a lot harder to do when you're trying to discard. So what she lacks in power compared to Hela, she makes up for a little bit in splashability. So let's talk about the cards that I think are going to be important for this card going forward. Card number 1 is Venom. It's a pretty straightforwardly good thing to destroy stuff, keep the power on the board, and then play a 5/8 that brings back the stuff that Venom ate. That's a very straightforwardly, obviously good thing to do that can actually fit in a mid-range deck in a way that I think a Hela package would not be splashable. And this is where I think I'm probably diverging from a lot of people's opinions on Death Fractured Frontier, is that I just don't think she's a combo card. And I realize, KM, you're the mid-range gamer. If Juggernaut and your girl were both drowning, we'd catch you at your girl's funeral, moving your opponent's turn 6 plays. I understand that. But I do think that what makes this card obviously comparable to Hela is the same thing that's trapping people into thinking they have to play it like Hela. And I think the difference is where the input comes from. Venom is a very good card if you are getting it, using it as a way to effectively double your output. You put your cards inside the Venom, then you get them back out with the Death. You've gotten double value out of those cards. That's just good. And that's really the fundamental interaction going on with a lot of these. There are ways to splash doubling the value of a card in these destroy decks. You play something into a Kid Omega, then you bring it back with Death. You have Venom, then you bring the stuff back with Death. And that's actually quite a bit it's actually a reasonably powerful endgame in a mid-range deck. The thing is, it's not a reasonably powerful endgame in a combo deck, because all of the hoops you have to jump through mean that you're not going to be able to get big enough stuff in the boom boom. You're not going to be able to blow up enough good big things that you actually feel good about bringing them back out. And I am going to talk about a couple of combo decks in this video, but I'm not particularly sold on them, both in terms of how they compare to other lists and in terms of I just don't really know why I'd be doing this instead of the other combo decks. Last up, Fastball Special. It's the exact same premise as Kid Omega and Venom. It's a little bit worse than them. We went in descending order here because Venom has 3 power, Kid Omega has 1 power, Fastball Special, of course, has 0 power, but we are still doing the same thing. We are effectively getting equivalent exchange out of this. We're Full Metal Alchemisting it, baby. We are expending a resource, and then we're getting that resource back. Really, we're not Full Metal Alchemisting it. We're kind of breaking the Full Metal We have a Philosopher's Stone, okay? That's the idea here. You want to use Death to take these cards that are typically 1-to-1 exchanges and make them 2-to-1 in your favor. And this is the list that I had the most success with Death Fractured Frontier, and it's sort of exemplifying the premise here, right? This is not a wacky combo list. I am not trying to revive a lot of stuff. I'm trying to blow up like 2 or 3 things and then play a 5/8, which is good value that brings back a demon and a giant crystal or something, right? Like I am trying to play something that just is, oh, this is like 524. Like that's kind of the goal with Death, is just like get enough power in her that she's just like a 524, and then boom, you can just play her in a mid-range deck. Like as long as you're playing stuff that actually has power, you can just blow that stuff up and then get it back. And that's actually like a pretty good thing to be doing in a mid-range deck that does feel like pretty close to being legitimate. This is a deck from Husky Puppies, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was like an actual functional example of what Death can be good at, because I do think that if you put her in a role of being the thing carrying your combo deck, you're likely to end up disappointed. I use the Paul George analogy a lot. She's a number 2. She's not a number 1. She's a sub-theme in a deck that is built around other things that can reasonably splash her. I do think that, like, you know, we would love if Kid Omega was a 2/3. We would love if Fastball Special did a little bit more. We would love if Venom had a little more power. All of that is true. And I do think that, like, that is a notable weakness of this kind of build compared to, like, other versions of Thanos stuff. But it did legitimately feel like, okay, there's might be something here. I might be able to actually feel good about this instead of feeling bad about this. I might be able to actually do things that are legitimate and interesting and allow me to actually get the most out of this card rather than pigeonholing myself into being a combo deck. We are going to put a little gameplay with this deck on the back end of the video. Version 1 of the combo list, I believe, comes from Jet, who is the kind of guy who I expected to do some cool things here. This is an intricate, repetitive Phoenix Force deck where the goal is to put your interactions together in such a way that something crazy happens. The biggest problem I have with this deck is that it's just another Magic deck. And if I'm going to be just another Magic deck, I really need to be sure I'm doing something crazy. People might be a little surprised that I didn't put Firehair in the cards that work well with Death section. I kind of think she's a trap. For many of the reasons that I've been talking about in this video, I don't think Death wants to be a combo card. I think if you want to be a Firehair, repeat your on reveals deck, you're better off doing that with this, like a Phoenix Force deck. You are probably not better off doing that with Death. The jump from 4 to 5 is actually super meaningful, and you're very often targeting one on reveal when you're doing stuff like that. I don't know that Death is actually making this shell better at doing any of the stuff it's trying to do, and it definitely feels like it's reliant on magic. The pop-offs are huge, or they can be if you put everything together in the right way. Getting things like gigantic, enormous fire hairs because you've repeated Black Panther's on reveal, like that's all cool, and that's a really slick thing to do, and you can definitely output a ton of points. But I just don't know that the juice is worth the squeeze here, because Scorpion can do that too, and it's way easier. This is the other major Firehair list that I saw, and I think it's sort of closer in essence to like what this card is more supposed to be, which is like a smaller ball value kind of destroy mid-range card. I just don't know if it's all the way there. I know it can win games. I know it can output points. It can definitely do some cool stuff. And by killing off enough of this stuff, it's important. There are a couple of ground rules here if you're playing a Firehair deck. Your number one thing you're going to want to keep an eye out for is making sure that Death does not bring back stuff that kills your stuff, which can be really awkward in a deck playing things like Carnage, Venom, and Misery. Like typically Venom is okay. The other two are not, right? And so you really, unless you're specifically trying to make something happen, you really want to avoid getting those in the pile, unless of course you're trying to get the Misery dead so you can high roll it landing on Death. Also a possible thing you can try to do. A bunch of intricate stuff here, but mostly you're playing a bunch of stuff, blowing it up, getting Firehair value, bringing it back. That's the premise. Last up from Cougar, a rampy version of the Death vomit your hand kind of stuff. This is an attempt at taking ramp and making it cheat a little bit harder. Think of it as like ramp plus hella minus consistency is kind of the vibe that we're going for here. We want to play some stuff. We want to blow that stuff up. We want to bring that stuff back. This is also very reasonable in a world where like just a single Arnim Zola can get you some cool stuff happening, right? Like you Arnim Zola something big enough and then you bring that thing back, and that's also pretty cool. There are things that you can do here that are nice, unique, and interesting. You get very clapped by Stardust. You get very clapped by Cosmo occasionally. Depending on what you're trying to set up, things can get super, super awkward. But I do think that it's worth talking about this as a potential avenue for the ramp deck going forward if it ever needs to adapt to a more points-heavy environment that involves less Cosmo. I don't think that's the world we live in right now. So with that said, I kind of think most people are off base about what this card actually is. Death Fractured Frontier is a mid-range card. She's not a combo card. And again, I know coming from me, that might be like a little bit like ridiculous to say, and maybe I'll be wrong in the future. I do think that I'm kind of going out on a limb here in a way that lends itself to like getting screenshotted and pointed at and being like, this guy's an idiot. But I do think that the dynamic I felt was like, the difference between her and Hela is in how you set them up. And Hela functions best in a dedicated deck with focused discards and discard targets. And Death functions best in a deck playing a bunch of value destroy stuff, specifically Venom, Kid Omega, the things that trade 1-1, and making those trade 2-1. And I think that that is a really notable difference. Like, these cards look very similar at like how they function, but in terms of how they play, I kind of expect them, and it definitely felt to me like they could not be more different. And so I think that that's kind of an interesting dynamic. I can't say that anymore because everyone's noticed that I say it all the time. It's an interesting dynamic, though, between two cards that superficially look identical because they have different situations that allow them to set themselves up. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I've been KMBest. You've been phenomenal. We're going to jump into a couple games of that mid-range death list, and hope you enjoy. Holy shit, I net decked him, and now we're going to lose to him.
Taking aim.
The Iron Patriot's probably great here, honestly. Hell yeah, brother. I'll play. I don't know if I should, but I will. They Venom and you die? I don't know how that would make me die. It doesn't revive with the power, does it? Death 2? Oh, wow. Real good Thanos there.
Taking aim.
Ha! Let's go!
Victory.
Good enough about Conquest. Well, yeah, that's the only reason, dog. Since when is Conquest randomly locked? Since today? Nobody knows why. It just is. It's low-key their best patch ever. They finally were like, yo, let's get rid of this shit. 2 streams in a row. Nice. I know. It's as weird for me as it is for you guys, presumably. Respect Big Conk. Holy shit. Is that a quick drawn Red Wolf? Do I give a shit? I guess is probably the larger question here. When do you sleep? Rarely, fortunately. I wish that wasn't the answer. But it is. The fuck is Mango doing? That was the drawn card. It's based Venom time. And surely what'll happen is we will then be able to own some souls. Maybe we just get the clone, right? Nope, no clone. This counts pretty good, though. What have you done to lose weight? Oh, Zempic. That's what I've done, brother. Wait, is he playing the cool card? Holy fuck. I might be helping him by giving him this Venom in his pool. I might be a helper. Green, just green. Okay. Okay, I have my death. Which means... fastball this Venom. Death. Even reviving 3 things, which will fill up this. Well, not necessarily. Maybe we do it the other way. Fastball this. Death. Demon. Figure it the fuck out. No, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. Fastball, death, demon, something happens. I assume they also have some death bullshit. Death now? Like a one-drop death, right? Oh. Oh, that's way worse. Oh my god. Oh, helps. Yeah, that was the first question I asked in the interview. It was like, how repeatable is this? Well, he's repeated it right. I mean, certainly has. Oh my god. Okay, that's like mildly helpful, I suppose. He did, yeah. Oh, cut that the fuck out. God damn. Bro, I'm getting nulled. Right? I'm gonna stay, but I think I'm gonna regret it. Wait, I can put that into their Death FF pool. It's the order they revive, right? Correct? I don't know. Let's find out. Here comes Destroyer.
What a game!
Something happens. Okay, so we just need something, anything to go left. Something left, something right, yeah? Yes. Yes. No. Do I have a fourth card? No, I don't. Fuck! Bob goes right? Oh! I did it!